Hi, welcome to How to Stay Safe in a Crazy World, where we're going to cover lots of practical tips and also practical suggestions. We'll be giving away lots of resources, lots of useful information. And at the end of the webinar, I'll show you how to sign up for our draw, where we're giving away a Dosha Kit, samples from our immunity kit, and a copy of our best-selling book, The 25-Day Ayurveda Cleanse. So just a couple of things to help you get the most out of this webinar. First off, let's turn off everything that's operating in the background. That's going to include any email systems, Skype, iTunes, any extra programs, because what they're going to do is they're just going to slow things down for you. And then silence your cell phone. This is the time that you've given for yourself, just this hour. Go ahead, close your door, give yourself this time to discover how to stay sane in this crazy world. And you are muted, so if you've been chattering away to me, hoping that we'd notice, we can't hear you. We are recording this webinar for you. But don't worry, none of your information is going to appear in the final webinar. The recording link will be provided to you automatically in an email straight after this. And you know what? I don't want you to worry about taking notes. As I said, we're going to send a copy of this recording out to you. We'll also send you lots of the recipes that we'll talk about. I want you to just enjoy watching this. Feel free to chat in the chat box. I have Lisa in the chat room. She's our Ayurveda lifestyle counselor who's here to help. Also Rebecca, our marketing director and Ayurveda practitioner, who's also here to help tonight and keep everything running smoothly like she always does. And I do believe my business partner, Justin, will be on the webinar too, keeping an eye on things. So you do have lots of support and help tonight as we go through this time together. So make sure you have a nice cup of tea. I do. I have a Tulsi rose tea tonight because my pitta is showing up as being a little bit irritated with the world. So this helps my immune system and keeps me cool, calm, and collected. And I'll show you ways that you can manage any dosha imbalance that may be showing up. But tell me, do you feel like you're living in a crazy world right now? And it can't get crazier, can it? This world that we're trying to navigate. You know, we're told all kinds of things. You know, maybe people are going to get reinfected. Shall we open? Shall we close? If we open, will it be too soon? If we stay closed, will our economy ever recover? Can we pay our bills? For how long do we have to do this for? What happens if we have to go through this again in the fall, which they're saying we do? And how about our kids? Most schools are closed right now. So it really is an unprecedented and crazy time. And this sort of countless or constant exposure to what's going on, to the news and headlines, has a way of sort of bringing up this sense of dread in all of us. And as distressing news constantly filters to the top of all our feeds, that's our phones and our TVs, it's certainly not uncommon to feel more than a little nervous about the state of the world right now. It is easy, isn't it, to turn on the news and believe that the world is ending. You know, when a large-scale news event like this, like a pandemic, affects us, everybody wants to talk about it. We want to discuss it more widely and more frequently. This constant conversation that we have about it can lead to a snowball of negative thoughts. It's called catastrophizing. It's a pattern of thinking that always jumps to the worst case scenario. It's actually an evolutionary response to threat, and that has us feeling that we're living in this crazy world. The simple answer is you're not crazy. You really are, but you may be out of balance. Your dosha may be out of balance. So what we're going to do very simply is give you some tips and some ideas and practical things that you can do to show you how to put your dosha back into balance so that you get to live your life without feeling like you're just going crazy here. So let's check you're in the right place. You are in the right place, though. If you want to understand why it is you do what you do in response to the current pandemic, And you also want to find out what practices and foods that you can use to stay balanced. And you want practical tips on how to stay sane for your particular metabolic type and the dosha. So, how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to look at 4 ways to embrace uncertainty in this time. We can't fight uncertainty. It actually may be here to stay for a while. So let's look at 4 ways that are going to be right for all of us, that's all of our doshas, to help us stay sane in this crazy world first. And the first one is to accept uncertainty. It's a fact, actually, that we are not used to living with uncertainty. Although recent history has painted sort of a tumultuous picture of what we've done in the past, we actually live in relatively peaceful times. I think the last time things were pretty uncertain was after 9/11, but compared to other times in history, we are not really used to living with uncertainty. And when we're hit with all this uncertainty, then we're going to experience all kinds of feelings. We're going to experience fear, doubt, worry, sort of confusion and uneasiness, even a sense that we're losing it at times. But in order to accept the unknown, we have to relinquish control. We just got to give it up and maintain trust that the powers that be are actually working to solve the larger scale issues for us. So give yourself permission to chill. Give yourself permission to worry. That's perfectly okay, but just not get stressed out. When we feel uncertain, it gives us the opportunity to reassess our goals. Maybe we have to reassess our finances right now. Maybe reassess our travel plans, wedding plans, graduation plans. That's okay because it's all part of dealing with the chaos. It's a good thing to reassess our goals. What it does is it actually gives us a sense of control again. And then lastly, let's not listen to negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is actually just perceived fear. It's when we don't know the outcome. So when we don't know the outcome, we have this mind that takes over, this imagination, and conjures up all sorts of things in our imaginary mind that says what could happen rather than what is happening. So really important right now to stick to the facts. Uncertainty and the anxiety that comes with all that uncertainty is going to make us feel powerless. And a sense of powerless then breeds fear. And it's the fear that we won't be able to handle the consequences of this terrible event that may happen, whether it's unemployment, whether it's sickness. We tend to exaggerate the severity of this threat. And what we also do is underestimate our ability to cope with it. We actually cope better than we think we will. That's called survival. So instead of feeling powerless, evaluate what you know to be true in this moment. So to help ground you, think maybe, I have my health, I have my family, I can still make delicious meals. Take stock of your reality by asking yourself straightforward questions like, what are my responsibilities to myself today, to my family, and to my community today? And what reality-based problems do I need to solve right now? And that means you responding to the reality and not the nightmare of what your imagination says could happen. If you jump to the worst case scenario, which we can all do at times, it doesn't equip you or help yourself in any way. You're going to freeze up because things become unimaginable. And then when we freeze up, we're just tempted to take any kind of action, do anything, because it's better than freezing. And that's where it's really important to avoid that all or nothing behavior. When the news and the facts are constantly changing, which, yeah, they really are, aren't they? It can be easy to jump to conclusions and fill in the blanks. But when we do that, we're going to fill in the blanks with that sort of black and white thinking, that sort of all or nothing thinking. It's not a healthy way to cope. So to avoid this thought pattern, give that circumstance some kind of context. Just because a handful of events were cancelled, for example, my nephew's senior graduation's being cancelled, Rebecca, who's on the call, her wedding's being cancelled. We may have to cancel the Ayurveda Sanctuary, our health retreat this year. It doesn't mean that the world is tumbling into isolation. It means our leaders care about our safety and they're taking the precautions that they need to do. So this is a great time to journal and write down sort of that anxiety or those nervous thoughts. Try giving that anxiety a name. So to bring a little bit of humor, my anxiety is called Fred. And Fred will sometimes say to me, the world's probably going to end. And that makes me go, well, Fred, you probably don't know what you're talking about. So sometimes a little bit of humor can help. And then really important to take care of yourself. And we're going to go much more into this that's specific for each dosha. But research has shown that anxiety impacts our decision-making skills. And in frenzied times like this, you want to make the most informed decisions for you and your family. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to keep yourself in tip-top shape. And we're going to talk a lot about self-care for that, because studies have shown that exercise, sleep, and even social reactions are really important. Even if it's a phone call or it's a video chat, they're going to really diminish stress and anxiety. So as important as that is, you may want to take a step back from social media or find ways to make the experience a lot less nerve-wracking, which it can be right now. And perhaps most importantly, just give yourself some slack. Don't beat yourself up for worrying. That's only going to make you worry more. And then you're going to worry about worrying. So if group gatherings aren't feasible for you right now, take part in one-on-one video hangouts, FaceTime calls, text threads. Just because we're socially separated doesn't mean that we need to be socially isolated. So I have clients and friends right now that are doing all kinds of things. There's online book clubs, online knitting groups. There's another group that I know that are doing online cooking. My son has online buddy time. I have happy hour with my friends and my sister every Friday evening. But as nice as that is, do remember to turn technology off eventually, especially in times of crisis. Try avoiding your phone and other news sources at least an hour before bed so it doesn't disrupt your sleep in any way, shape, or form. So what about Ayurveda? First, let's cover a few basics. So Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old system of medicine that roughly translates to the science of life or the science of longevity. So it really is a blueprint for how we can live our lives with health and vitality. It's the oldest medical system in the world, and Ayurveda utilizes diet, cleansing routines, herbal remedies, knowing the right exercise, and other lifestyle approaches. That's going to help bring your mind, body, and spirit into balance. And this concept of balance is vital in Ayurveda because being out of balance is the root cause of all diseases. So how do the doshas fit into all this? Well, we're made up of a unique mix of the three main doshas. That's Vata, which is made up of space and air, Pitta, which is made up of fire and water, and Kapha, which is water and earth. And it's the proportion of these elements that's going to determine your dosha. Your primary dosha is also the one that's likely or most likely to come out of balance, threatening your health when you're under stress, like now. Now, it may be a little bit hard to imagine that everything is just made up of the 5 elements. And when I first heard that, it's like, yeah, right, with my science training, that's a little woo-hoo. But it is similar to understanding that all paint colors can be created from red, blue, and yellow. So when you start mixing the elements on a palette, you could get an endless variety of colors. So it's the same here. Together, the doshas are going to combine to form your physical body. Each dosha has specific functions, has specific qualities and effects that it's going to have on you. Now, we do have all three doshas in us, but we have them in unique combinations. This unique combination is what makes you you. That's the reason that Ayurveda is so highly individualized as well. Now, at this point, you already know your dosha. You were sent the dosha quiz when you registered. We wanted you to know what your dosha was. So let's meet those doshas one by one. And most importantly, how to balance them in this crazy world. So when you took the dosha test, maybe you learned you have a lot of vata in your mind, body constitution. So what in the world does it mean to have a primary vata dosha? Well, vata people like to do everything fast. They're going to talk fast, walk fast, create fast, even worry fast. Vata people are normally thin with a small frame. They don't have a lot of fat padding on them at all. And their big common denominator is probably change. Their moods change. Their minds change easily. They'll often flip from one thing to another. But when vatas are in balance, they are really creative. They often take a spiritual path. They're quick thinkers. They're really quick adapters. They're very, very exuberant. They have a lot of positive energy, and that positive energy often attracts others. Vatas in all their glory, they're effervescent, they're energetic, they're really invigorating. This is the type that just lights up a room when they walk in. Vatas are happiest when they're warm, when they're calm, and when they're at peace. Then their creativity soars. And they often have the creativity of being able to write music, sing, dance, play. I mean, they normally do something that is quite creative. Vata types really have a unique ability of multitasking. They're probably the only dosha that can multitask. They can normally juggle several things at once. They love change, they're highly adaptable and highly creative. But some people have a tendency, or a natural tendency, if you like, towards anxiety during times of stress. And that's going to increase vata. So you're going to see these kinds of symptoms under stress. So when you're out of balance, which we are in this current situation, that may create more anxiety and more sleep problems for you. We also see things like constipation, dry skin, muscle spasms, depression too, and arthritis, as well as chronic fatigue. This is the type that just gets worn out. And foggy thinking, or that short-term memory loss where you walk into a room and you're not quite sure why you're there. Now, social gatherings are important for all three doshas, but vatas are particularly susceptible to imbalance if their social connections are disrupted or their social routines are disrupted. So if that happens, a vata is going to feel a little confused. They're going to have a lot of self-doubt. They're just going to feel overwhelmed, like they've lost control. So vatas actually feel pretty grounded by connecting with their friends, their family, and their community. So if you're a vata, you may be feeling especially disconnected right now from social distancing recommendations. So if you are feeling ungrounded due to a lack of routine, then routine is going to become very important. Make sure you establish as a vata a regular daily routine. It might be a new one for you. For example, try to wake up at the same time every day, eat your meals at the same time every day, get to bed by 10 o'clock at night. Doing a warm massage before bed is going to help calm you and allow you to sleep better. Vatas often can't stay asleep. They'll wake up sort of 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Vatas also feel very grounded by connecting to their friends and family. We talked about that. So really important to remember to connect to people right now via new channels. You may even find as a vata that you're actually connecting more than you previously did. And it's going to be important for you to sort of carry that on even after things return back to normal. So some very simple practical things. Vatas need to avoid ice cold water, cold beverages, and cold foods. And that's because vatas need a lot of warmth. And by eating sort of warm comfort foods with healthy oils and ghee, That's going to help add to the warmth and grounding nature that they need. So Vatas are going to do much better with their finicky digestion if they sip warm water throughout the day. It's going to help with issues like gas and bloating, constipation, which are what we often see with Vatas when they go out of balance. Vatas also need to cook their foods. I know you as a Vata probably love your salads, but you're just not going to do well with raw foods. So a salad, for example, is going to have you feeling more spacey and more disconnected. So really important to make sure that you have cooked, warmed foods. So opt for things like warm soups and stews. Easy and balancing dishes for Vatas are going to be sort of non-vegetarian soups. Vatas actually do really well with some animal protein. Stews, one-pot meals are really great for Vatas. Vatas normally have pretty erratic appetites, meaning, you know, sometimes they can eat like a bird and other times they'll be an endless pit. Because Vatas lack the fire or water elements, this can make them prone to constipation. So to remedy that, a lot of oils, creamy sauces, those things that are going to lubricate the body is going to counterbalance the rough and dry qualities of Vata. This is going to help our Vatas maintain that digestion. Most Vatas, when they go out of balance, it's going to start in the digestive system. They're going to have intermittent gas and bloating. They're going to have constipation that comes and goes. They may even have IBS type symptoms. So these are all the things to help with that right now. And then a warm oil massage is probably the most well-known therapy in Ayurveda. It's called Abhyanga, and it's something we do to stay balanced. And Vatas need a gentle, warm massage to ground their highly sensitized nervous system. That's going to really put them at ease. We have a wonderful oil in our Dosha Kits that's made with over 180 different herbs baked in a base of sesame oil. And when Vatas use this oil with really sort of long and gentle strokes, they're going to feel instantly relaxed. They're going to feel strong, really nourished. This is going to help them sleep as well. So if you're a Vata, use oil generously because your dry skin is going to soak it up like a sponge. You probably already know this. All oils need to be warmed before putting them on a Vata skin. And then just watch a Vata feel instantly tranquil by just applying warm oils to the skin. And I'll send you out after this webinar how to do a self-oil massage. We'll send that out to you. And then some really nice essential oils for Vatas to help ground them and calm them and have them feeling really warm and secure are things like patchouli, lavender, sandalwood. You can put those on your pulse points. You can also diffuse these oils, put a couple of drops in your evening bath, and bathing is a great routine for Vatas. There's something about just soaking in warm water that warms a Vata up and calms them down for really good sleep. You can add them to a base oil as a facial serum. In our spring dosha kit, we do have a Vata facial serum, which has a lot of nourishing base oils like sea buckthorn oil and walnut oil, along with 5 different essential oils, which are really calming and grounding. So it's like putting liquid sunshine on your face because it's really warming and hydrating. And then routine is so important for Vatas. Vatas often remind me of a balloon, sort of out there in space, just blowing around in the wind. Whatever idea takes them, off they go. And I often feel with a Vata that we need to sort of hold on to them and sort of tether them, ground them, anchor them, if you will. And what tethers or anchors a Vata is actually routines, because it's so important for them. And Vatas are probably the most dosha that doesn't want routines. But what that anchoring is going to do is ground that spacey Vata. So Vatas need to have their meals at the time each day, go to bed at the same time, preferably between 10 and 11 is really good. Vatas also need time to relax so you can stay asleep at night. And a great time for Vata would be, first off, electronics off an hour before bedtime. take that warm bath with a couple of sort of lavender drops in it to soothe and calm and get ready for sleep. And then have a ojas building drink at night. Ojas in Sanskrit really means sort of immunity building and vitality building. And when vatas are stressed, they often lose that sense of vitality and they just become really dull and fatigued. And fatigue is a big problem for vatas. So a vitality building drink at night is going to be really wonderful for them. I'll send you out a recipe for that, but essentially, you know, it's a milk base, either dairy or a nut milk, nutmeg, ashwagandha, shatavari, which are a couple of really nice immune building herbs, which are really good for vatas. So I'll send the recipe out for you so that you have it. And then lastly, before bed, what's really nice for vatas is just to spend a couple of minutes, even if that, just doing some deep breathing. In fact, let's all do it right now. Just take a deep breath in and let it go. Can you feel how much calm you feel on the exhale? That exhale is grounding or calming that central nervous system. So just 30 seconds of this at night before bed would be really good for vatas. It's easy to do, and they're going to see the results instantly. They're going to sleep much, much better. And then to stay satiated and balanced, vatas need to eat 3 to 4 square meals a day. However, vatas tend to graze all day. And that constant snacking, especially if it's processed and dry foods, which they do tend to sort of be attracted to, it's actually going to increase that dry quality in that digestive system. So they have these sort of dry, crunchy processed foods. It increases that vata in their system. So then they're going to want more of it. So that's going to translate to a lot more gas and bloating, which vatas tend to have problems with anyway. So if you're a vata, then a really good snack for you might be some dates. Dates are wonderful for you, or maybe some soaked almonds. These would be really nice. And we'll talk about some really good vata snacks for you in just a moment. And then while we should favor foods that balance our doshas, we also need to incorporate a variety of tastes into each meal. There are 6 tastes in Ayurveda, and if we omit or overindulge in any one of the tastes, then we're going to get imbalance. So certain tastes are more balancing to vata, pitta, or kapha, and vata is balanced by 3 different tastes. That's sweet, sour, and salty. The sweet taste is not just limited to sugar. That's going to include things like complex carbohydrates, milk, sweet fruits. All the root vegetables are sweet, oils, nuts, honey, meats as well. Be careful with refined or lab-made sugars. They're false tastes and they're not any good for us. What that's going to do is going to interfere with our normal metabolic pathways. So what does the sweet taste do for vatas? Why are we recommending the sweet taste for vatas? The sweet taste is heavy. Remember, vatas are light. It's oily and it's a bodybuilder. The sweet taste also rejuvenates as well, and it builds vitality. The sweet taste is the reason the body grows. It's going to improve circulation. It relieves heartburn, and the sweet taste promotes stability. It also calms the nerves, relieves muscle spasms, which vatas tend to be prone to, clears away any feelings of stagnation too, and also retains water. That's going to be highly beneficial for vatas, which tend to dry out. So we know that salt attracts water. So by eating anything that's salty, you're going to attract more water. So vatas need as much water as they can get. So let's sort of think of some good snacks for vatas. They're often attracted to things like trail mix, but trail mix could actually give vatas a tummy ache. So it's best to stick with a handful of one single thing, maybe some almonds, and then the next day have something different to mix it up. But baking fibrous fruits like apples or pears, something that brings out the juices of the fruit, that's going to be awesome for Vatas. So one thing that I really like for me, because I have a lot of Vata in me as well, is I like to chop up some apple, cook it up in a saucepan with a little bit of water and ghee, add some cinnamon. Ah, it's a great snack, mid-morning snack, one of my favorites. Raw foods are going to aggravate Vatas. That's going to cause or increase any kind of anxiety or nervousness or dryness in the body. That also means that it's not going to be so easy to access the nutrition from the food. So even though you may be eating good foods, and a lot of raw foods are good foods, if you can't access the nutrition from that food, then you might as well not bother. So another example of a good snack for a Vata, slice up a banana, add 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, or just sprinkle some cinnamon on it, add a teaspoon of warmed ghee, and eat that. That is so grounding for Vatas. Dates filled with almonds or cashew butter. These are just a few examples of some really good snacks for Vatas. And these are some of my favorite Vata meals. They're in my book, The 25-Day Ayurveda Cleanse, or they're from my meal plan. There's the dates here that we talked about, filled with almond butter. They're a great snack. There's a creamy almond chai latte, sesame noodles. Sesame seeds are really, really wonderful for Vatas. There's an asparagus frittata that makes for a great breakfast for Vatas, gets them off to a great start. There's some carrot ginger muffins, very warming. They're sweet, they're calming, and they're grounding. With a little bit of ghee, that's going to be great for breakfast or great for that mid-morning snack. These are just a few things that you can see that would be great for Vatas to keep them grounded and less anxious throughout the day so that they can cope with all the change that's going on right now. So how do you know you're a Pitta? Well, some people are very, very solution-oriented, and in times of uncertainty, when there aren't any firm answers to many questions, just right now, they may be feeling really frustrated with the current situation. These are our Pittas. So when Pittas are in balance, they are wonderful at coming up with strategic solutions to all the new challenges. In fact, they'll rise to any challenge. But if out of balance, this is the type that's going to get irritated and cranky. Hence my rose, which is very cooling tea to stop that crankiness. So Pittas may be feeling especially frustrated that they can't engage in their normal activities right now because Pittas like to do and Pittas like to be productive. So Pittas are extremely high performers. They're often called overachievers. In fact, if you've ever been called a workaholic or a perfectionist, you're probably a Pitta. But they are fantastic improvisers. They're great negotiators. They're great problem solvers because Pittas have the wonderful ability of just living in the present. They're the ones that are running the office meetings. They're the ones making strategic plans, the ones generally leading. And balanced Pittas are really joyful. They're very, very persuasive. They have a quick-witted sense of humor. They easily attract others to their cause. They often have quite fiery personalities, and Pittas are just happiest when things go their own way. In fact, they will love to debate and argue with you until you do see it their way. So if you're a Pitta, or you know somebody who's a Pitta, you know that's a trait that they have. So when a Pitta goes out of balance, we're going to see a lot of heated imbalances. We're going to see things like heartburn, hypertension, tension headaches, increased stress, irritability, even a quick flaring to anger. Eventually that stress is going to get the better of a Pitta. This is the type that's just going to burn out because they keep on going and going and going until their body says, can't do this anymore, and sort of just throws in the towel. So Pittas do tend towards frustration or irritability as their go-to mood under stress. And they often will get angry if others are not doing what they should be doing. If others aren't doing their part or they're not following the rules. Pitters don't like a sense of injustice. And when pitta fires up and becomes imbalanced, then we're often going to see things like acidic stomach, heartburn, loose stools, or even diarrhea, plus migraine type headaches as well. So how do we keep a pitta balanced? Well, as you're probably feeling frustrated and irritated that you can't do the things that you want to do in the way that you want to do them, then you're just going to have to find new ways to do things that will help. This is the perfect opportunity for you hard-striving pitters to take the time to slow down a bit and rebalance. Pay attention to how you balance activity and rest. This is the perfect time to do it. Reconnect to your self-care practices. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. That's going to be really important for you to stay balanced and healthy because you're the type that's going to burn the midnight oil. You actually may find that you're more productive too by getting good quality sleep, which is so important to you, than if you were to burn the candle at both ends, which you are apt to do. So let's look at some things that can really balance a pitta. We're back to our daily massage, and pitters too can benefit from this daily self-massage, but they'll need to use a cooling and calming oil. That's going to keep them cool, calm, and collected throughout the day. So the one we have in the Dosha Kit has a bunch of cooling and calming herbs baked into a base oil. You can also use coconut oil. It's also good for pitters as it's really cooling. Just use a little oil. You don't need as much as a vata. Make this part of your daily routine. It's going to make a huge difference for you. And as a pitta, I also have a lot of pitta in me. I know how it's really important for you to move daily. However, if you're doing workouts in the midday sun, that's just going to fire you up even more, and it's going to aggravate that pitta even more. It's just going to be too heating. Once that happens, you're going to feel all hot and bothered. So the best time for you to exercise, it's when it's cool. So that means in the morning, first thing in the morning before the sun gets its heat, in the evening too, after the sun's lost its heat, in moonlight. So if you go for a walk or you go for a run and the silver light of the moon is shining, that's a cooling light, as opposed to the light of the sun, which is a warming light. And pitters just love to be by the water. We often find pitters living by the ocean, by the lake, a stream, a pond, a puddle. They just need to be near water. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because a pitta is often heated, so water is cooling. So they're often attracted to living by water somewhere. And then pitters do so well in nature. They often find it really cool and calming. So schedule this daily. This is going to be so important for you pitters to stay balanced. Take the time, though, to enjoy going out in nature. This is not just to get your 5-mile hike or your 10,000 steps. Rather than be so goal-oriented, enjoy the roses along the way, literally. Take time to notice the buds on the trees, how the light is changing, the brilliance of the colors in the flowers in spring. This walk in nature has an ability to rejuvenate pitters and leave them feeling really calm and balanced. And if you're a pitta, you probably already know this by now. So walk in nature, go for a hike in nature, go for a swim in a lake or a river if you can do that, go for a bike ride. All these are really beneficial, and they're going to calm that tendency towards irritation, especially when you feel that you can't control everything. And to be quite honest, pitters, you can't. You never have been able to. And I speak that coming from a place of being a pitta. And then coming back to coming from a place of knowing what a pitta is. So my fellow pitters, others are not going to behave, think, or strive like you will. You just set a higher bar than some others can. Their goals, it's not what they do, or it's not that they do anything wrong, but other people's goals and drivers are just different from yours. So let go of any expectation and lead by example. Show them how it's done. Use your pitta ability to lead, to help others. And that's going to help you remain cool and chilled out. You can use essential oils that keep you calm rather than sort of heat you up and make you frustrated. So some great examples are sandalwood essential oils, vetiver essential oil, rose. That's why I'm having my rose tea right now. These are all very cooling and calming. So when you get frustrated, just use one of these essential oils on your pulse point, or better still, make a mister or a hydrosol, which is distilled water and essential oils. We have a pitta mister as part of our dosha kit. And when I smell it, and I use it a lot, it's like taking a cool and peaceful walk in the forest. It is so cooling and soothing. So I'll send out some samples to you, and I'll show you how you can get those later. And then pittas do need to avoid caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, spicy foods, and hot spices. Yet a pitta loves spices. But these foods, these things are all really heating and stimulating. That's going to fire up the heat in you. So let me give you an example. Last summer, I picked up some peppers, some tomatoes, and some garlic at the farmer's market. These are all really heating foods. My witty, smart pitta son, who has red hair, he has freckles, bright blue eyes, and a fair and pinkish skin, was coming for dinner that night. And without thinking, I used the peppers, the tomatoes, and the garlic. I made up a lovely bowl of gazpacho, bread, and added some red wine. We decided to eat on the back deck in the sun. And after about 15 minutes, I noticed that my son had blotchy red skin. His freckles seemed to have multiplied and his skin was getting redder and redder. It was just all too much heat for him. He needed to favor foods that were cooling, mild, and less oily. So let's take a look at some tastes that are really good for pittas. So what does pitta need? So they need the three tastes: sweet, bitter, and astringent. So what does the sweet taste do for a pitta? Well, it's heavy, it's oily, and it's cooling. It's going to ground, it's going to nourish, it's also going to rejuvenate. This is really important. It's going to build vitality, but most importantly, the sweet taste relieves heartburn. The sweet taste also promotes stability in the body, and in turn, that's going to keep the mind happy and calm as well. And then the bitter taste, one of the other tastes for pitta, is really going to promote the flavor of the other two tastes. It's going to wipe away the other tastes as well, like a palate cleanser. So examples of the bitter taste, and we don't see this so much in our culture in the American diet: coffee, black tea, green leafy veggies, bitter chocolate, neem, turmeric. These are all examples of that very bitter taste. What the bitter taste does is it purifies the blood. It's going to detoxify the body, which is why we have a lot of bitter things in the spring. Reduces fever. It's a liver tonic. And the liver is one of the organs of pitta. It also reduces cholesterol. It helps quench thirst, and pittas are often thirsty. It's that heat that they have all the time. So a pitta, they've always got a water bottle with them. And it reduces skin inflammation like rosacea, eczema, psoriasis. These are all pitta conditions. Also reduces any kind of burning sensation. The astringent taste, and we don't tend to see this taste so much in our American diet either, but it's a very cooling and drying taste. It sort of sucks out water. Whenever you have something astringent, it sort of sucks out the water of your mouth. So some examples of the astringent taste: unripe bananas, pomegranates, chickpeas, they're very astringent, turmeric as well, spinach, chard, kale, blueberries are an example of something astringent. Also green tea and cranberries. So why is this taste important? Well, it tones tissues, removes excess water, stops bleeding, heals wounds. It's also antibacterial and is really good for your skin. Remember, pittas have a lot of skin inflammation. So that's why astringent things like witch hazel are often used in skincare products. And then let's look at some great snacks for pitta. So they need to be cooling snacks like a lassi, which is a yogurt drink, a fruit smoothie with no dairy. It could be a nut milk with lots of mint in it. Dates rolled in shredded coconut. We'll send you the recipe for that. Seasonal fruits like blueberries, hummus, and veggies. Pomegranate juice is one of the best juices for pitta, really cooling. Fresh coconut, really good for relieving any heat. Fresh mango is one of the best fruits for pittas. A lot of seeds, pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds are good for them, and coconut milk or coconut water, because coconut's very cooling. So all really good for pittas. And then these are some of my pitta recipes from the Pitta Meal Plan or my book, The 25-Day Ayurveda Cleanse. I'll be raffling that off at the end. So some examples here. Pittas, you might want to have a cream of broccoli soup. Here's the date and coconut balls that you can see on the top right. There's a quinoa salad, which is very astringent. The date and saffron vitality building drink is really nice for pittas. And there's a winter berry salad here at the top left. That could be wonderful for a pitta, and that's complete with wheat berries as well. So just some examples of what would be really good for a pitta as well. And then our kaphas. So some people may be seemingly more relaxed about what's going on today and have a tendency to withdraw every time they go under stress. These are our lovable kapha types. When in balance, kaphas are just not going to feel the panic as maybe a vata would. They're already quite grounded and calm as their baseline. But however, when they go out of balance, then they're going to start feeling really complacent about sort of taking precautions or creating healthy habits when at home. But everybody loves a kapha. Balanced kaphas are wonderful peacemakers. They're empathic caretakers. They're really, really joyous hosts. And they give the best hugs. And I should know because I'm married to a kapha. They're happy, they're tolerant, they're patient. They are the first ones to lend a helping hand. And kaphas just love to cheerlead. They have a positive attitude. They have a strong body. Kaphas have the wonderful ability of not judging. So they rarely get angry. They're wonderful at holding space for people. Kaphas love being warm and dry. They really dislike humidity. And they love the lighter pursuits, things like gardening, sewing, cooking. Kaphas don't like change, however, and they feel very, very comfortable in the routines that they have set. So if you're a kapha, you may be feeling a little bit out of sorts as your routines have totally shifted in this last month. So when kaphas go out of balance, we see weight gain. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. Depression, we see a lack of motivation, sort of foggy thinking, skin outbreaks like cystic acne, also a lot of allergies and congestion. We're in kapha season right now, which is spring. That's why we have a lot of congestion or allergies in the springtime. But kaphas are the type that when they get a cold, it's probably going to develop into something more serious like bronchitis or even pneumonia. Kapha, you may be sleeping more and moving less and having even less opportunity to move as your work may have sort of moved homewards. So what's going to be important for you is pull up some online yoga classes, download a fitness app, consider a walking routine that you can implement here and now. Kaphas are the type that get lonely if they don't have enough people time. Pittas actually enjoy being by themselves. It rejuvenates them. Vatas, we talked about, they need their social time. But kaphas get terribly, terribly lonely. So being with others is what invigorates the kapha. They're going to feel lighter. They're going to feel more inspired in the company of others. And it's really important for you as a kapha to connect with others via social media, video calls. this is important for you. Go ahead and join an online book club, an online knitting group. Get out there and volunteer as long as it's safe to do so. Kaffers normally love to help others, so volunteering might actually be a really good thing for you as long as you're able to do so. When Kaffers get sad, they have a tendency to hoard things. They are our quintessential pack rats. They'll have a story for everything they've kept and a reason as to why they just can't throw it away right now. So take this time, if you're at home, to purge anything that's no longer serving you. That could be books that you've well and truly read. It could be clothes that no longer fit, and we all have those. It could even be an idea that needs to be let go of, that you're just holding on to. These things are the things that weigh us down and keep us connected to a version of ourselves from yesterday. It's not who we are today or who we want to be in the future either. So it's of vital importance during this time as a Kaffer to check in with yourself, connect with how you're feeling, identify what would be best for you. So let's look at some of the best things to keep you balanced during this crazy, crazy time. Well, Kaffers need to avoid cold foods, cold drinks, and naps. Kaffers have no fire element in them, so they're going to get imbalanced by heavy cold foods. That's things like yogurts, cheeses, sour cream, ice cream, dairy, and unfortunately, they often are attracted to those things. And as Kaffers have a tendency to sleep under stress, napping is just going to make them feel more sluggish. It's going to make them feel more lethargic. It's going to make them feel really unmotivated. And then dry brushing is really good for Kaffers. Dry brushing stimulates a sluggish lymphatic system, which Kaffers often have. The lymphatic system is made up of lymph nodes. These are our filtering systems that cleanse the blood. So what dry brushing does is it stimulates that cellular repair, reduces lung and sinus congestion. And remember, Kaffers are prone to congestion. So a great way for Kaffers to dry brush is actually to take some chickpea flour. That's right, chickpea flour. You can find it in the grocery store with all the natural flours, natural foods. Take some of that chickpea flour and put some in your hands. And then when you're in the shower, just brush that flour into your skin with a dry brush. Chickpea flour has the wonderful ability of removing excess water. As Kaffers have a lot of excess water in them, the chickpea flour is going to remove some of it. And as I said, you can get chickpea flour in any grocery store. And then just shower that flour off. It's perfectly fine. It'll go down the drain, no problems there. But it's really quite interesting how chickpea flour works with Kaffers. And then Kaffers just need to move and sweat to stay balanced and healthy and slim. Kaffers are also the hardest to get moving. You know this as a Kaffer. It's like, yeah, tomorrow I'll move. The reason is because they actually lack the mobile air quality. So it's really easy for them to remain stagnant and unmoving. In fact, Kaffers are often referred to as couch potatoes. They do have a tendency to stay sort of slow and steady no matter what. But once a Kaffer finds something that they love to do, they're going to feel so alive, so light, and so energized. Cardio is actually the best exercise for Kaffers to balance that heavy static quality that they tend to have. That could be from walking to running. In fact, anything aerobic is going to be good for you. Kaffers need a lot of motivation, though, to get up and go, so they often need a buddy to help them stay motivated. That may be a little hard for you to do right now, so go ahead and find an online buddy and do something that's fun. If Kaffers don't want to do something, and if you know a Kaffer or you are a Kaffer, you know this about you, you are just going to get stubborn. So if you don't think something's fun, you're going to dig in your heels. That Kaffer stubbornness is going to come out and you're going to say, no. So find something you love to do. Exercise at least 20 minutes a day for you to stay balanced. And as Nike said, just do it. And then kaffers can also get bogged down with things. You know, we talked about their tendency to hoard things, to collect stuff. So to stay light and motivated, especially in a kaffer's mind, then this is your opportunity right now to take this time while you're at home to purge, to just lighten up your space. It's going to lighten up all of you accordingly. So I always recommend to my kaffer clients that just once a month, go through one thing. Maybe this month it's the junk drawer. Maybe next month it'll be the coat closet, and so on and so on. So you get the picture. And by decluttering, by getting rid of that stuff, it's actually going to really lighten up your mind. It's interesting how that works with kaffers. And then kaffers do like to do the same thing every day. They are the type that's going to take the same route to work. They're going to park in the same place. They're going to go to the same restaurant. They'll order the same meals. After all, why not? You know what works, so why change it? But we do kind of need to shake a kaffer up a little. That lightens them up and stops them becoming quite so stagnant and unmotivated. So to avoid that tendency for a kaffer to just stay in a rut, kaffers need to spice things up. They need to try new things, new experiences, new ideas, new hobbies, learn a language, read something you wouldn't normally read, watch something you wouldn't normally watch. It could be something as cooking a different kind of meal for you that you haven't tried before. So new tastes, new sounds, new things to do. It's going to keep you exhilarated. Throw away things. We talked about that. Practice non-attachment to emotions. Kaffers can hold a grudge for years sometimes if they're out of balance. So just watch whether it's relevant to today that you're still holding on to these emotions. So try something new tomorrow and just see how that lightens you up a bit. And then using a neti pot is really good for congestion. And a neti pot is a more yogic tradition. We can find neti pots in any local drugstore chain, often using saline or salt water to rinse through the neti pot, to rinse through the nose rather. Neti pots help with allergies. They help with stuffy nose, and they help with sinus problems too, or sinus congestion. So our nose is what helps us filter pollutants, helps us filter chemicals, pollen, dust. So we want it to be as clear as possible to help clear the mucus and breathe better. But don't forget, if you do use a neti pot, it's incredibly drying. You have to follow it with a nasya oil, and often this bit is forgotten with people. We have nasya oils in our dosha kits. What a nasya oil does, and nasya just means nose, what a nose oil does is it helps restore the lubrication in your mucous membrane so that you don't dry out. When our mucous membranes dry out, which can often happen when we in central heating or even in air conditioning, then the little cilia, which are little hairs that capture viruses and bacteria, don't work effectively. So what the body does is says, this isn't a great place to be. I know, we'll add mucus to combat that because we want this immune system, this first line of defense, to work really effectively. You as a kaffer turn around and say, oh my God, I'm congested again. I better take an antihistamine to dry out. And then the body's like, well, we just gave you a load of mucus. Now we better even give you more, hence kaffer congestion. One of the ways to avoid all that is just use the nasya oil each night before bed to help lubricate all those mucous membranes. It's really good for the immune system too, and that's why it's in our dosha kit. So we want to make sure that you don't dry out. And kaffers can choose essential oils that are very heating and stimulating. Rosemary is very stimulating. In fact, I'm diffusing rosemary in my room right now. That's going to keep me alert and focused on what I'm doing. Other good ones, ginger. We tend to think of ginger as a spice. It's also an essential oil. Cardamom, cinnamon, great essential oils for kaffers because they're all really stimulating and warming as well. Kaffers, after all, need all the stimulation that they can get. So you can diffuse essential oils. You can use them on your pulse point as long as you're using a carrier oil as well, or simply make a mister. The Dosha Kit has a wonderful hydrosol spray mister that's really good for kaphas, really exhilarating and uplifting. They can be a little heavy in the mind after all. So let's look at some tastes that are really good for kaphas. The Pungent Taste, we haven't come across this one before. This is the hottest taste of all, and it has a scraping action on the tissues, so really great for the sort of kapha thick tissues as well. What this taste does is it improves heat, it improves motility in the body. And remember, kaphas don't have motility, which is why they're often quite stagnant. It's going to improve their metabolism. And as kaphas tend to have a sluggish metabolism, which is why they often put on weight under stress, you can see how the Pungent Taste is really going to be helpful for a kapha. The Pungent Taste also burns away digestive toxins. It decreases congestion. It's going to improve circulation as well. It also has the ability to dry up mucus, which is why we use ginger, for example, in cold remedies. So some examples of the Pungent Taste: black pepper, chili flakes, horseradish, wasabi, as well as the garlic. Radishes are peppery. They have a pungent taste as well. The other taste that's really good for kaphas is the bitter taste. This is going to purify the blood, has a detoxifying effect, lowers cholesterol, which is really good for kaphas because they tend to, when they're imbalanced, have high cholesterol levels. Anything bitter, like dandelion leaves, turmeric, or even leafy greens, help reduce water content. Kaphas can also retain water. So if you're a person who wakes up in the morning and your rings are really tight, try drinking a dandelion tea in the morning. You can buy dandelion tea bags at the grocery store, or try a little shot of aloe vera juice. That's really bitter. That's going to cool as well, so great for pittas, but it also is really good for any kind of water retention. And then lastly, another great taste for kaphas is the Astringent Taste. This taste also removes excess fluid, helps with constipation, and kaphas, they don't get constipated like vatas where they can't go, but they get sluggish. So this taste can help with that. It's also antibacterial. And we can find the Astringent Taste in beans, for example. All beans are astringent, and that's why kaphas do so well with legumes. Cranberries, blueberries, these are examples of astringent fruits right now. There are a lot of herbs and spices that are astringent as well. And then kaphas do really well with light, dry, well-spiced, warm and easy to digest foods. In fact, kaphas do best on a vegetarian diet, although they love their hamburgers normally. So even though kaphas are attracted to sweet comfort foods like dairy, cakes, pastry, cheese as well, these foods are actually going to leave them feeling really dull and lethargic and heavy, just sort of heavy in their mind as well. So some wonderful snacks that help balance kaphas. Fresh veggie juices are really good for them. Kale chips with some garlic powder, popcorn, as long as they don't put all that butter on it. A spicy chai or a ginger tea. Veggie sticks with a bean dip would be really good for them. Baked apples with cinnamon or cloves. See how we've added the spices to lighten up that apple. Now, for you kaphas, it is best to avoid sweets, but I also know you kaphas. Remember, I'm married to one. So if you accidentally eat something sweet or eat something on the sweeter side, then you can always balance it with something spicy. So for example, chilies in your dark chocolate would be a way that you could eat some chocolate. So kaphas can have chocolate too. And then these kapha meals are from my meal plan, which is 5 new meals with recipes each week. These are right for your dosha and the season that you're in. Each meal plan includes a shopping list. That way you can just get all the food over the weekend and know that you're eating all the right foods for you throughout the week. We do offer a 2-week free trial, so you can hop onto my website, check it out, give it a try, and see if this is right for you. But it will get you eating the right foods for your dosha in the right season that you're in. So here we can see some veggie juices with some spices. There's a carrot ginger veggie juice here. There's a saffron lemonade, a mango chutney with some chili spices. Also a wonderful spring Buddha bowl that has the astringent and bitter taste, which you now know are so good for kaphas. There's a bean dip and a spicy pesto. All these are great meals for kaphas, and they kind of make me hungry just looking at them. And I'm not a kapha. So what if you're a dual dosha though? So although you may be a predominance of 1 or 2 doshas, and remember we have all 3 doshas in us, you may be feeling a combination of some of these doshas. So in this time of year, which is spring, which is kapha season, if you're a vata pitta, then you're going to do all the things to balance pitta. In fact, you're going to treat yourself as if you're a pitta. Because the pitta in you is more likely to go out of balance in spring. If you're a vata kapha, then you're going to follow the kapha recommendations, and the same if you're a pitta kapha, you're going to follow those kapha recommendations. However, check in with yourself, connect with how you're feeling, identify what your dosha is so that you can do the best thing for your dosha. This time that we have right now, actually, besides being a crazy time, gives us an opportunity to learn more about ourselves as we honor our individual needs. And to help you with that, we actually do have our Dosha Kits. And our Dosha Kits are designed for the specific dosha you are and the season that you're in. So that way you have some wonderful products. It's the same products that we use to keep us sane during this crazy time. I'll be giving away a free dosha kit to one of you. And everything in this kit is good for who you are, and it's individualized for your dosha and the season that you're in, which is spring right now. So think of it as your dosha balancing kit. It comes with a massage oil that's right for you, a facial cleanser so that you can reduce the chemicals that you're putting on your skin, a mister, that's that hydrosol that I mentioned with essential oils that are right for your dosha, an oral swish for your mouth. Oral hygiene is so important for your immune system, a facial serum to nourish your skin, and a nasya oil. Remember we talked about that after neti potting to keep all the mucous membranes in your nose, eyes, and ears well lubricated. That's also a really good first step in keeping your immune system strong. So it's all personalized to your dosha and the season that you're in. But each one of you has your own health story, and I can't hear about that in a webinar. I mean, we have, I can't see how many, we have sort of 50 people here on this webinar. And even though I can help guide you in what's right for your dosha, and our team have come up with all the things that we can give you to help during this crazy, insane time, I can't personalize what's right for you. And the reason that we've been so successful and have helped literally thousands of clients right where you are now to reach their health goals is because of our ethos, which is there is no one size fits all. There is no one drug that suits all people. There's no one lifestyle or nutritional program. There's no one Ayurveda herb that's going to suit all people. There's no one kind of yoga that's going to suit all people or essential oil that's right for everybody. And that's why we developed our personalized programs. If we work one-on-one, we can personalize and get to know you and your pain points. And here's how our programs work on a personalized level. When we work one-on-one with people, we do it in this very personalized way by creating customized wellness plans that meet your specific health needs. That's what I can't determine on this webinar. That's based upon really understanding who you are. So we go very deep into your bio-individuality, if you like. And we do this by exploring all aspects of what makes you, you. Now, in our programs, we do include genetic testing as well. That way, we can get to know you right down to that molecular level. And then this knowledge is then combined with the information from an Ayurveda consultation. That way, we can create a really comprehensive wellness plan that meets your specific health needs. So, for example, are you eating the right foods in the right seasons? Are you getting up at the right time? Are you going to bed at the right time for you? And if you are out there exercising, well, are you doing the right exercises for your particular dosha? And then also, just as important, does your genetic makeup tell us that you may have a predisposition that we need to account for? Does the genetic test tell us that some foods that otherwise seem fine may actually be the cause of things like weight gain or low energy or stress on the body? So it's really important to find out the answers to those questions too. And then that results in a customized transformational wellness plan that is based upon an Ayurveda diagnosis of all your symptoms and imbalances, combined also with the knowledge from your genetic makeup. We end up with this really multifaceted plan that's broken down into exercise support, lifestyle support, herbal support if you need it, stress support, even mental health support. So I will tell you what to eat for your body type and goals, when to sleep, how to exercise, so everything is tailored to you personally. Ayurveda in Sanskrit means the science of life or the science of longevity. So it really is that blueprint for how to live the rest of your life with health and vitality. And that's what we want for you. So here's what I'd like to do. Let's schedule a time for us to chat, maybe in a day or two, and go a little bit deeper into who you are in a way that I certainly can't do here, and what you may be struggling with. So be sure to sign up for a complimentary consultation so that we can learn more about you. We'll spend sort of 30 minutes on a phone, just trying to understand what are your pain points, what are your health challenges right now. Then our team will analyze all your symptoms and imbalances. We'll come up with some recommendations for you, and then we'll follow up a complimentary consultation to be able to share those findings with you. Now, if I can help you, that's great. I would love to be able to help you. It's what I do, it's what I love to do. But I can't always help everybody. So if for any reason I can't, I do have a lot of resources. By having our practice at the University of Pittsburgh Center for Integrative Medicine, we're connected to a huge network of expert medical professionals all over the country. So if your health challenges are best suited for a medical professional other than us, then we're going to be more than happy to connect you with the right person. So if you attended the webinar live tonight, you will be getting an email shortly, if you haven't already got it, with a link where you can schedule a complimentary consultation with me and also enter the draw to win a free kit. Remember that this draw is only open to those who have attended live on the webinar. Entries will close tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So we'll also be sending you tonight's recording so that you can look at it again, and a number of all sorts of helpful follow-up resources. We'll have some recipes, how to do the self-massage, some breathing techniques, the chai recipes up there for you. So a lot of good things that I hope you can really use and utilize. So it's great to spend this time with you tonight. I want to thank you for helping us guide you just a little in this crazy time so that you can stay somewhat a little bit more sane. But any questions? So Lisa, who's in my chat room, any questions that people have that you think is important that we address?
I think we've addressed all the questions that that we saw come up. Lots of great feedback.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for me? Not one for me. Everybody, Lisa did it all.
Here's a technical question from Tiffany. If she did not register before joining, can she be included on the email?
If she didn't register before, well, she must have registered to get in, didn't she?
I can send that out to Tiffany, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, we will send everything that Tiffany needs. Anybody else? Then, wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate spending this time with you. Lisa, Rebecca, thank you as well. It's our pleasure to help in any way we can right now. It's a crazy time, isn't it? But hopefully you feel a little less crazy right now. I saw just a couple people asked a couple of questions, raised their hands.
I think, Carrie, one issue that came up several times, people wanted some clarity around having a dual dosha, and if it's the same for every season. So how do people work it when they have two predominant doshas?
We address that for spring, but each season that will probably change. Your dominant dosha for that season is the one that you're going to actually pacify or balance. So for example, if you have pitta, summer is pitta season. You may be a vata pitta, but like me, but in summertime, I'm going to treat that pitta in me. And in fall, which is pitta season, I'm going to treat the vata, which is vata season, I'm going to treat the vata in me. So in that way, then when that dosha is most likely to go out of balance is when we pacify it or balance it. Does that help? All right, looks like we are done. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. And hopefully we'll be putting on another webinar. We'll see you at the next one, hopefully. Bye now.